News.
Herald and News, your news now.
The Herald and News.
Empowering the community.
Basin Views.
Herald and News, your news now. Klamath Falls, Oregon.
The Herald and News.
Podcast. Empowering the community and serving the Klamath Basin. This is the Herald and News Basin Views podcast. Greetings and welcome to Basin Views, a Herald and News podcast featuring interviews with the local experts discussing issues important to the Klamath Basin. I'm Kurt Liedtke with the Herald and News. This week we are joined by Mac McCune, better known at least this time of year as Monster Mac, and Kristi McCune, the masterminds behind Monster Mac's Murder Manor, a massive haunted house unlike anything that the Klamath Basin has seen before. Mac and Kristi, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to join us.
I think I'm going to have to leave. You sound way too professional. Okay, I thought this was going to be more off the cuff, but I'm a little scared now, which is a good thing because that's what we're doing. We're scaring people, usually not myself.
Exactly, and that's what we're going to get into. 'Tis the season. It's October, a month that is synonymous with the Halloween holiday. But before we delve into exactly what kind of craziness you have imposed on the Klamath Basin here, we always start these off with getting just a little bit of background on who our guests are. So could you please tell us a little bit about who Mac and Kristi McCune are?
I'm Mac. Is that what you meant? No, okay, I'm just kidding. We own Nerds R Us. We been in the area. You know, Kristi was born here. I come from Las Vegas. I had one of my mentors was the Vegas Vampire from Las Vegas back in the 70s and 80s, which had a big effect upon me and my willingness to be macabre and to be, scary. I like, the scary stuff. So I figured, I'm not getting any younger, so I might as well go ahead and have the dream that I've always wanted, which is to have a haunted attraction or a dark ride. Haunted attraction was a little bit easier to do than building tracks and underground and, different things. And plus a dark ride could be a love tunnel, and that's kind of boring.
Okay, so as Mac was saying, I was born in Klamath Falls. I did grow up in Reno, but I did come back for my love of the Klamath Basin and to attend OAT for my college years. I have working currently at Klamath Basin Behavioral Health as a therapist there. However,
That's how we met.
my love for horror started when I was younger. I used to sneak out of my room and watch horror movies in the living room until my dad finally realized to stop making me not do that and to allow it. However, I did start a ghost hunting team as well in Klamath Falls, the Haunted Hunters. And so that kind of just piqued my interest in the paranormal and haunted houses and ghosts and all kinds of things dark and
You never
scary.
told me that.
So with it being October, Klamath Basin has had haunted houses before, but having seen it firsthand, I don't think they've ever had anything quite like this. Taking over the Klamath Basin, the Klamath Basin Community Center, which is downtown over by Ross Raglan Theater.
707 High Street.
Thank you. Is Monster Mac's Murder Manor, which is a massive haunted house featuring all kinds of creepy crawly things to terrorize the residents of Klamath Basin and hopefully beyond. Maybe we can get some people coming down here. But I want to delve into Halloween itself. As fans of horror films, and certainly I'm a fan of classic films too, there's not necessarily a season for that. It can be a year-round enjoyment, but this time of year is special. What is it about Halloween that now adults embrace just as much as kids do? Why is this holiday so beloved?
Well, I personally think it's because you're allowed to be somebody other than who you really are. You're able to be whatever your darkest fantasy is. Personally, I always like being a checkout person at a grocery store is what I usually try to be on Halloween. I aspire to do something, off the cuff those guys, they're crazy people. The things they get to do, woo, man, go howdy.
As a fan of horror films, there's certain eras to it. Certainly the early 1930s and late 20s, Universal kind of set the standard with their classic monster movies of Dracula and the Wolfman and Frankenstein. And then 1950s and 60s, we had a lot of the B-movie sci-fi horror films that lots of them were kind of allegories for the Cold War and fears over the Russians.
You're talking about George Romero with the Night of the Living Dead. That was Night of the Living Dead.
Well, and then there were all of the Attack of the 50-foot whatevers, the monster
colossal
movies and all
monster.
that. And then there came the slasher era in the 70s and 1980s was where it really hit its peak with Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th and all those. What got you into scary movies? I know you mentioned the Vegas vampire, but what is it about scary movies that draws such an appeal?
Well, it's the thrill. You get a thrill. You get the adrenaline rush from being scared. This is one of the things that we really wanted to bring forth into the Manor. I mean, we have recordings now of people going through, and it's just an ongoing scream fest. We also, we've only been open 3 days, and we have 4 people on our meter. Go ahead and ask me what that meter is.
We were going to get into that. Unlike other haunted houses, you are keeping what, for lack of a better term, called the P tally, correct?
I personally, the more technical term is the PP tally.
Okay.
So we have people that have kept track. We have seen, we have the restrooms out in the back, and we have logged the people that have run to them afterwards. And there's one individual that had a bit of a trail going behind her to it as she screamed the entire way. One of the last things that we have in the haunt is the giant zombie. And people don't believe me when I say we have the world's largest zombie until they've actually been in it.
So what is the appeal of being frightened? Some people like roller coasters and amusement park rides. Some people like scary movies. That release of endorphins that comes with being frightened and knowing, okay, you're safe. Wait, what is the enjoyment in being frightened?
Well, yeah, I think you just answered it yourself. It's, the endorphins and the rush, the adrenaline rush. And not to mention, people, when you're there, it's not just about yourself. It's about watching the expressions on the people that are with you. It's like people get more of a joy when they walk through a haunted house. How many people are having more fun pushing other people in front of them than just actually going through it? I mean, we've seen this firsthand now. I had one because I take the first group through, and I had one gentleman that was actually on my back, and it's like I had to turn around and stop and go, Skippy, I'm not going to protect you. I'm the person that's going to throw you into him. It's like, the look on his face, too, is like, oh, yeah, that's right. You're the bad guy here.
So there's been corn mazes, there's been haunted houses created by certain organizations, but the Murder Manor is something very different. How do you describe Monster Max Murder Manor?
Eye candy. I have gone to, there's a couple of different conventions that we have gone to collect the things that you don't see other places. I mean, I like when I go through any kind of haunt or any kind of function, I look for something different. I look to see what I haven't seen before. And I think everyone else is basically the same way. So when you come, in fact, didn't we just get one of the gals that came through that posted on our Facebook that there are things in our haunt that she has never seen and she's gone through other ones. And that's the truth. And that is exactly what I wanted to have happen. And when I saw that, it's like, wow, someone actually did get what I wanted. I wanted them to go through and go, hey, I've never seen that before. Look at that. What? Oh, wait a minute. What's this? And then what's that? You're going to have to go through more than once. Seriously. And we've also are going to be having a scavenger hunt of the different things that are actually in the haunt from iconic movies, iconic monsters, and you'll have to just see.
Everyone talks about things that they want to do someday, and if I had the time, maybe I'd travel here or do this. I know both of you have talked about wanting to do this. What was it that finally instigated? You know what? We're going to do the Murder Manor this year. We're finally going to make it happen.
Well, being an astronaut didn't work out for me, so I figured I might as well go down the list. President was already taken, and I kind of got over that one when I was 12 anyway. But I figured this is something that I've gone to Trans World. I saw the kind of cool things that the haunt industry is now developing, and now's the time. I mean, this is the the state of the art. I mean, the haunt industry, the haunted houses are at their peak. I mean, they are becoming just so overwhelming with their technology now that I wanted to bring some of that to Klamath. I mean, I love Klamath, and I would like to have other people from the surrounding areas come here. I mean, everyone goes to Bend or they go to Medford, but, hey, what about them coming to us for a change? And this is part of what we're doing. I just came back from Bend, and I'm talking to one of my clients, and they didn't know that I was Monster Max Murder Manor, and they started telling me about this cool haunted house in Klamath Falls that they just heard about. And I thought, that's pretty good. And I like that. So word of mouth gets around, and I'd like to have more and more people come to Klamath instead of more and more people leave Klamath. So that's part of it.
And Kristi, how about yourself? Is this something that you had also wanted to do?
Yeah, I've like I said, I've always liked the horror industry. I've always been interested in monsters, and I do like to scare people. There's just something
She does
about
it to me every morning.
there's just something about being in full costume. And if you want to see the world's largest zombie, I am also in that same room. But there is something about being in costume and standing there laughing and seeing people come towards me, being afraid to come closer to me. They like to push, like he was saying, push their friends in front and say, "Oh no, I'm not going in there. That lady's scary." And it's kind of fun to see other people be scared in a fun way, in a safe way.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the design of the Murder Manor. Now, we've talked previously about how this isn't going to be a one-time thing. You're planning to do this again next year and years thereafter. And every year. Yeah. And every year it's going to be a little bit different in terms of the layout and design. So what went into the design for this year's inaugural Murder Manor, and how do you go about designing a haunted house?
Well, it was one of the easiest things I ever did to design this was basically what I said is, Roger, go ahead and design this for me. And he did it. That was my brother. He's a set designer. He worked with a lot of plays down in Santa Cruz, acting and designing. He's also a sign painter. And so it's just like, well, this is what I want to do. Design it for me. And he did. And it was quite amazing. We built basically a house in a gymnasium. It's a structural. It's something that you've not seen before. It's not tarps hung up in a maze. It's actually a construction with different sets, different design sets. And the other thing that we did when we were in one of the conventions is we took 8-hour classes. Well, we took classes that totaled 8 hours for safety. So it's a dream of mine that I don't want to be a nightmare for anyone else. So we did put a lot of time and effort into keeping our haunt safe. The monsters notwithstanding, that you're on your own with them. But as far as the haunt is concerned, it's safe.
This is a very impressive build, and I know it's taken quite a bit of time to compile. It isn't just something slapped together over a weekend. Any idea, ballpark figure of total work hours that have gone into making this thing happen?
For me, my hours were just getting every once in a while on the phone and saying, Roger, is it done yet? For him and for our work crew, we started in August. Actually, a little bit before August with the planning. And we've been, like when I went to Transworld in March, I had ordered a fair amount of the props at that time. So it's been quite a long period of time just orchestrating what we're going to have in it. And then the building aspect of it, it took a while. Yeah, it was extreme for him, not me. I stayed at home and ate chocolate.
So the Murder Manor itself, the haunted house style maze that people move through, is only one part of what you're actually doing. There's a whole kind of pre-setup with different opportunities. Can you tell me about some of the activities that are available when people first enter before they're taken through the maze?
Well, we have some photo ops that people can be a part of. And what we're going to be starting this coming Friday is we're going to start taking a photo of every group that comes through and putting on our Facebook for them to download later. We have a game where people will take a brain and they'll toss it at a zombie's empty head. And if they get the brain in the head, they win a prize. I'm not going to say what that prize is because people run away screaming, but it's free, so come and win it.
And then we also have Marta's house and the Klamath Crisis Center. They're running a cafeteria where they have goodies from like burritos and cookies, burgers, mummy dogs, a whole bunch of different array of foods. So you can get food. It'll probably be your last meal, so you probably want to eat before you go through the hunt. So they've been a good blessing and help in setting up the food part of that.
And everything that they sell goes towards Marta's place, and we're also giving a percentage of our take towards Marta's, and we're also going to be taking part of that for suicide prevention for veterans. So there's more to it. It's a very small percentage, though. Most of it's going to me. Okay, all right, well, maybe that's not true.
It's something that people can experience that's not only getting into the spirit of the Halloween season, but it's also something that's giving back to the community. And beyond that, depending on how well this does and wanting to continue it, the fact that you already heard about it in Bend is a great early sign that this could become something potentially for tourism to draw people to the Klamath Basin as part of their overall Halloween experience. You have to go experience Monster Max Murder Manor when Halloween comes around. And that could mean economic boosts, not just for your business, but for all of downtown, right?
We do love Klamath, and that was part of it. We've gone in and talked to Discover Klamath. The other thing that we're announcing now for the first time over the air is that we're going to be doing more events for different holidays. We're going to have a haunted attraction for St. Valentine's Day. We're also going to be doing murder mystery dinners there at the community. We're trying to bring more people to understand that Klamath Falls has a community center. Not a lot of people know that. When you say, our community center, you get a blank look. Of course, that's probably just the people I run around with. They usually look at me like that anyway.
Well, that's fantastic that this is something that can be a great part of the community, but can also expand beyond the community and have benefits down the road. The question, though, comes into play, though, for parents, and they're wanting to do family things. This is intended to scare, and there's a difference between the good kind of scare that, that gave me a quick rush, and the kind that creates nightmares for weeks to come and screaming kids.
I leave that to the parents. I've put on the poster that it's not little kid friendly. I mean, at one part, I'm not gonna divulge the different things that you'd see going through, but as a parent, and I've raised 4 stepkids, I had my kids would go through something like this way early. But I also was a parent that explained to them special effects. Explained to them this is imagination, this is not real, and things like this, may or may not really exist. I mean, in the Monster Manor, they do exist. Outside the Monster Manor, they don't. There are scarier things out there than the monsters we've created.
The monsters you have created are pretty impressive, and certainly we want to leave things open to the imagination and for people to go experience it firsthand. But are there some aspects of the design or things people can find inside that you maybe want to give a little sneak preview of? Here's some things that you might see if you enter Monster Max Murder Manor.
Well, if you like clowns, we've got clowns for you. Big Top is our head clown. And it's when you walk in to the clown room, it seems pretty meek and mild until he wakes up. And at that point in time, it is crazy nuts. There are different aspects. We have a spider lair that it's not just normal spiders. These spiders mutate humans. They have, some of the victims that you'd see are pretty nasty. I mean, just nasty. Then we have more fun We have the cannibal cabin. I do advise people when they go through the cannibal. I mean, it's a lovely family. They really are. They are a sweet and loving family. You just don't want to stay for dinner because they're cannibals. They eat you. They don't mean to. They're just, it's just what they do. We have all, and again, we have, you don't know what you're going to see. You don't know who's going to pop up. You might see someone from Men in Black. You might see one of your favorite slashers. You just don't know. We have a real diverse set of monsters at Monster Max Murder Manor. So we're trying, what we're trying to do is contain all the scariest phobias that we can. If you don't like being in a dark, squeezy, claustrophobic place, you may not want to come, because there's different things. You're afraid of falling through a crashing elevator, you may not want to come. But if all this stuff is what's going to get your heart pounding, why aren't you there? Get there now. Of course, it's closed now. Don't go.
The diversity in it, too, is also pretty interesting. There are still displays. There's also animatronics involved, and you have also live actors. How many people does it take to actually operate Monster Max Murder Manor?
Well, not very many people at all, but a lot of monsters. I mean, we got to have a lot of monsters to fill this Monster Manor. And we have, we've, some of the crazy ones are definitely really insane. We've got one of the asylum people has just scared us. I'm thinking about committing her.
So the Monster Manor is going to continue through November 3rd on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Admission is $10. You also have a $15 Fast Pass. Could you explain what that is?
Well, the Fast Pass, and Kristi and I, as we've talked, love the haunts. And we would travel down to Universal Studios. We would go to Sacramento, Portland. We'd travel. And some of the ones that we go to, they have just crazy lines. And I really liked the aspect of selling a ticket or wristband, in this case, that puts you to the front of that line. We have walked by like a mile-long line to go the head of it, and go right in, waving at the people all the time. Hi, how y'all doing? It's kind of cold out here. Glad I'm going inside now. And so I wanted to have that as well. And I think as this gets, closer to Halloween, you're going to want that Fast Pass, so you can wave at all the folks as you walk by and go straight in.
And one aspect about that with haunted houses is lots of times you end up seeing what's happening in front of you because there's so many people packed in. You can see what's happening in the next group and you kind of anticipate things. You've established certain rules for this house that are different from other haunted houses. Can you go over that and how you're kind of keeping all of the frights fresh?
Well, we don't just have people go through, okay, you guys go through, 2 minutes later, you guys go through, 2 minutes later, you guys go through. Because people go through at their own pace. Some people are going to just, be too scared to move forward in that 2 minutes. So you have people, right up behind them. What we do as Monster Mac, I will walk the group through to a certain area that I personally won't go through. I'll push them into that area, and then I'll go back and get the next victim. People. And doing it that way, I find that you don't see other people having to experience the jump scare until you're those people. And that's better. That's better because I have walked through so many haunts to just go, oh, you're going to jump out at me now, aren't you? Or the fact that they just jumped out at somebody else, they'll just watch you walk by and you don't even get the jump scare. We don't work it that way. We want everyone to be equally jump scared. We are going to make you pee-pee.
So, Kristi, you are one of the people heavily involved in its operation. What contributions did you have to the design and implement and acquisition of all of the fearful things involved? How much of the Murder Manor, it's named after Monster Mac here, but how much of it is also kind of Kristi's haunted house?
Well, I did help with a lot of the set designing as well. I spent some hours in there hanging, like he was saying, it's not, plastic tarps hanging down. We actually constructed walls, and so with those walls, they had to be painted, and they had to be decorated. They had to have wallpaper put up on them, banners hung up that mimicked the wallpaper, actual wallpaper, and then of course, we had a little accident with one of the monsters that actually clawed at the wall. So we didn't repair it. We thought it actually looked pretty spooky, so we just left it that way. So you can see some claw marks there. But we did put in some hours. There were quite a few nights where we were not leaving the haunt.
She let me buy things. That's what she did.
And I let him buy things, yes. But there were many nights where we wouldn't leave the haunt until 12:31, 2 in the morning, just making sure, because we really wanted this experience to be really wonderful for everybody.
And we're still working on it. I mean, there's, the people that have gone through, when they come back through again, it may not be the same. We try to shake things up a little bit. It's something, you never know what's around the next corner. It could be the monster that was there before. It could be nothing. Or it could be a whole different monster. It's something that I know for me, I loved going through haunts over and over again, because you miss things. And this is what we wanted to do. We wanted people to have a lot of eye candy, a lot of things to look at, a lot of things to be wary of.
Right, and then when we're looking at the sets in each room is its own enclosed set, if you will. And so a lot of time, was put in to making sure the props were in the right place. I will divulge a little bit. We do have a diner.
No.
But we do have what we call the Diner of the Dead, and there's many props in there, and placement, making sure that everything looks authentic, making sure that when you walk into it, you feel like you're in a diner. It doesn't feel like you're in a haunted house in the community center in Klamath Falls.
Maybe not all the props are just props. Maybe some of them are actually real. You don't know.
Yeah, some of the finger foods might have actual fingers in them.
It's possible. It's possible.
You never know with those wacky cooks. I tell you, I just try to run through that area because I'm a fat guy. I don't want them to get ideas.
There are some very specific rules for the Murder Manor that you have set in place that you want to educate people about before they actually go through the process, because this is intended to be a family-friendly event and something that people can enjoy for their Halloween celebrations, however they choose to celebrate the holiday. Could you do a rundown of some of the specific rules that you want to make sure people know before entering the Murder Manor?
No shotguns, no Tommy guns, no guns of any kind, no knives, no alcohol, no drugs, no touching the actors. The actors won't touch you. The monsters, well, they may or may not. You never know. But for the most part, if you behave common sense, you'll probably get through it.
Right, yeah, like we said, we want it to be a real fun family experience, so we want to make sure it's safe for everyone that's coming through. And like he was saying, it's not reality, and coaching, especially if you're taking younger kids through there, just to coach that it's not reality. The actors and the monsters will not harm you in any physical way. And of course, we prefer that, some people get a little scared and might lash out and swing at actors, and that might be a little bit of reflex, but our actors have been trained to watch that to make sure that they don't. Like we were saying, the age limit we would prefer is 13 plus. However, anyone under 13 can come through as long as they have someone over 18 walk them through the haunt, as we really don't have it really intended for the younger population.
Okay, so the truth of the matter is, as Kristi has said earlier on, that she is a therapist, and this is all about drumming up future business.
There's been a lot of personal investment in creating Monster Max Murder Manor, financially, physically, emotionally, I'm sure. What do you get out of this whole process?
Oh, I get the best thing of all. I get to see people wet themselves. I mean, just the laughter, the pushing each other, who's going to be in front, who's going to be behind, and seeing them try to make 4 people one person in a tiny little area is the best. And bringing joy, and having them talk about it, afterwards. Go out and have a drink and, oh, did you see this? Or, oh, when this happened, boy, the look on your face. Oh, I could swear you peed yourself. I didn't pee myself. Well, I don't know. I smelled it. This kind of stuff. I want everyone. Okay, I'm not Santa Claus, but I am Monster Max. So I want to spread the fear, and the joy and the adrenaline rush. That's what we want to do. That's what does it. And I want to thank the Vegas Vampire. That man brought it all to you.
There has been a great resurgence in appreciation for some of those people, be it Vegas Vampire, people like Elvira, and I always think of Joe Bob on late night TNT, Monster Vision and all that. People are starting to go back to those classic films and appreciate them for their campiness, as well as, some of them, you go back to silent film era before some of the standards were set in. They're downright, even without any sound, they're downright terrifying.
Oh, some of the things that Lon Chaney did back in the day, he did his own makeup, and it was amazing. He would take the skin from boiled eggs and put them over his eyes so they would look, white. And this is way before contacts. And some of the things that he did were amazing. And why he did that is the same reason I'm doing this with Monster Mac, is to provide, entertainment and thrills to the population. He had the entire world. We have Klamath Falls. And I hope you guys survive.
Kristi, as clearly the saner one of the couple.
Hey, I'm sitting right here.
Do you have any, is there anything that you would like to say in terms of people who are maybe on the fence of why someone should come out and experience Monster Max Murder Manor?
Well, I think it's like I said, it's really good fun. It's, movie quality stuff that we have there. Like you're saying, it's really thought out, planned out. I know some folks have been through in other towns or in other areas, different haunted houses that they were less than pleased with. But this one is full with monsters, full of action. You will not leave disappointed. It is definitely a fun time. And like Mac was saying, it incorporates the spirit of Halloween. Modern days, Halloween's about the scaries, about, having that adrenaline rush, going to haunted houses. And there are some people that don't necessarily enjoy Halloween a whole bunch, but I would encourage them to give the Murder Manor a shot and come out and see exactly why those of us that enjoy Halloween really enjoy it.
And when can people stop by?
The Manor's open right now Fridays and Saturday nights from 8 p.m. until there's no line. We will keep it going as late as possible. And then the entire week of Halloween, as Halloween is on a Wednesday, we were attempting to do it the week of Halloween, like you were saying, through November 3rd.
We also, in a couple weeks, we'll start being open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And we're also going to be doing a couple matinees, run-throughs, if we can wake them up during the day.
Monster Max Murder Manor is inside the Klamath Basin Community Center at 707 High Street in the general vicinity of the Ross Raglan Theater in downtown Klamath Falls. Entry is $10 or $15 for a fast pass. Enter at your own risk. And to add to the fun, local favorites Nephilim will be performing at Monster Max Murder Manor on Halloween night. Monster Mac, Kristi McCune, thank you so much for coming down and educating us all about this terrific new addition to the Halloween festivities you've added to the Klamath Basin.
Well, I want to thank you for having us down here. Do we have to leave, or do we get to stay and hang out?
Thank you very much.